News media is essential for democracy. It serves as a bridge between information and citizens, allowing people like you and I to develop opinions and make informed decisions about our world. However, we live in an age where the media is not trusted. Less than half of Americans report trusting in the news media fully to present information fairly and accurately. A perception of a biased media detracts citizens from wanting to engage with and learn about the events and policies that affect their lives. My thesis is that everyone, both consumers and media outlets, must seek to recognize their own bias by understanding other perspectives. When we do this, we as a society can more objectively seek truth. Bias is inherent in all reporting, whether it is conscious or unconscious. One factor that impacts a consumer's perception of the news media is news framing, or the way a journalist chooses to present a particular aspect of an issue. For example, journalists can choose to present an article in terms of values. More specifically, an article about medical abortion could be framed in terms of pro-life versus pro-choice. Consumers are more likely to view an article framed in terms of values as biased against them. However, if the journalist chose to frame this article in terms of outcomes, specifically in this case in terms of the consequences of medical abortion, consumers are less likely to view this as biased against them, possibly because they're more likely to see the outcome sympathetic to their view and then view the whole thing overall as more sympathetic to their view. Conservatives are more likely to view the media as biased against them. Here I have to reveal my own biases. I'm coming into this discussion having consumed a lot of conservative media, so I hear all the time about how liberally biased the media is. Now, there is some peer-reviewed research to back up this claim. However, there is also a lot of peer-reviewed research that argues that the perception of a liberally biased media is indeed a perception. Regardless, group identity does impact how a person perceives the media. Supporters of a group or issue covered in the media are likely to believe that the media favors the opposing side, regardless of what the issue is. Viewing media as biased against you can serve as a means of group defense if you feel your group is viewed in the public square as inferior, or it can serve as a means of identity enhancement for the group. In-group identification is also linked to pro-partisan media usage, where pro-partisan media is media that views news through an intentionally and explicitly biased lens. Consuming pro-partisan media has been shown to blunt hostile media perception or viewing media as biased against you. But it has also been shown to increase polarization. Alternatively, consuming cross-partisan media or media that is viewing the news through the explicitly biased lens, except with views different than your own, has been shown to lead to less polarization. This demonstrates the importance of understanding that members of the outgroup have legitimate reasons for their belief. Something else interesting that I found in my research, citizens interacting with journalists on Twitter reported less editorial bias. These people experienced the professional integrity that is expected of journalists firsthand. And this caused them to understand the journalism process more from the perspective of the journalist. So, in my research, I found that all news media is biased. That's not really new. Some outlets are explicit about it, some pretend it's not there, but it is there. Eliminating all forms of bias is impossible. However, we are capable of recognizing our own bias and how it reflects our media consumption choices and our perceptions of the media. Part of getting past our own biases involves understanding other perspectives. Interacting with journalists on Twitter helps us to see news from the perspective of the journalist. Consuming cross-partisan media helps us to understand the viewpoint of people we disagree with. When we start to see past our own biases by looking at other perspectives, we can start to see news objectively, and we can start to pursue truth.